Okay, this is grade 5, lesson 75, and we're talking about turning improper fractions into whole numbers or mixed numbers. So an improper fraction, we need to know the definition of an improper fraction, and that's when the numerator is larger or equal to the denominator. Some examples of that, we have 6/6 or we have 15/4. Both of those, the numerators, are either equal to or larger than the denominator. So what we want to do is we want to look at what would it be either as a mixed number or a whole number. So let's take this one, for example, and do it as a mixed number. So we have, I divided out the pies into 4s because that's my denominator. They should be divided into 4s. And I have 15 pieces, so I shade in 15 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So to make it a mixed number, we say, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 3 complete pies, and then I have 1, 2, 3 pieces out of the 4 pieces that are in that 4th pie. So we have 1, 2, 3 complete pies with 1, 2, 3 pieces out of those 4 pieces in the last pie. So we would change 15/4 into 3 3/4. Okay, we can do that by showing a picture if we need to. Now, anytime we have this 6/6, anytime we have the same number over the same number, we know that is equal to 1. So 6/6 would be equal to 1. Visually, we would have something that would be broken into those 6 pieces. So there's the 6 pieces. And if I have all of them, I have 1 whole pie. So 6/6 is the same as 1. When you're looking at adding different things together, how do you do that? How do you make that into that mixed number or a proper fraction? A proper fraction is one where it's less than 1 whole when you look at it. So this is 3/4. It's less than 1 whole. It's what we call a proper fraction. So let's say we have 8/3. If we have 8/3 and we want to make that into 1 whole plus a proper fraction. So if I look at this, if I have 3, I could take 3/3 out of that. Okay. And I could have another 3/3, right? Because I can have 2 whole ones out of there. Plus, that's 6. I still need 2 more. So I have 2/3 here. And that could result in we can make up a mixed number here. This is one way your book shows you, so that you can take this 8 and do 3/3 plus 3/3 plus 2/3 is going to give me 8/3, or this is equal to 1, that's equal to 1, so that's the same as 2, and then 2/3. Okay, that's one way they show you how to do that. Now I'm going to show you a different way, because it's as long as you know how to divide, you know how to do this. Okay, so if I have 8/3, instead of going 3/3 plus 3/3 plus 2/3, what I would do is, remember, 8 goes inside the box, the 3 goes outside the box. How many 3's do we get out of 8? 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract, we have 2 left over, no brothers to bring down or anything. We'll end up with 2 left over. So we make that into that mixed number, 2 and 2/3. So if I have 8/3, I can make it into a mixed number by doing 2 and 2/3. Let's look at a different example for that. Similarly, if they said that a 3-person crew, this is example 3 in your book here, a 3-person crew worked for 2.5 hours. Okay, that's 2.5 hours, and we had 3 people. to repair a broken water line. The customer will be billed for how many hours of work? Well, each person worked 2.5 hours, right? Because we had 3 people working on it. So we had person number 1 working for 2.5 hours. We had person number 2 working for 2.5 hours. And we had person number 3 working for 2.5 hours. So they're going to be billed for all 3 of these people working. So if we add them up, we add our whole numbers here. We have 2, 4, 6. We have 6 hours. And then we have 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 as my top number, 2 as my denominator. So here we have to, this one we can see pretty easily that I can get one group of 2 out of 3 halves, right? Because we say how many 2's can we get out of 3? Well, we can get 1. So I'm adding one group onto there. So now I have 7. Well, if I take a group of 2 out of 3, there we go. I'm left with 1/2. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a group of 2 out of here, and that equals 1/2. So that 1/2 I brought down and I put it right there. So this person will be billed for 7.5 hours of work. Again, 2.5 for each person, 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, so 3 halves. And then we can take a half out of there. We can take a group of 2 out of there, 2 out of 2. So we take that 2 out of 2 out of that 3, and we're left with 1/2, and that's where we get that 1/2 down on the bottom. All right. If you look at lesson practice, that will help you too to go over some things there. Again, taking the top number, dividing it by the bottom number, and that will give you your mixed number or your whole number if there's no remainders. If you're looking at things like N or P as far as lesson practice, you can also see that we have, if we have 8 1/3, 8 1/3, 8 1/3, again, we have adding those 3 8s together and then adding our fractions together, and we get our answer from there. Okay? That's the basic idea from this lesson. Again, anything that is greater than 1 on the top, if it's too much on the top, so you don't want it to be too heavy on the top or it'll topple over. So you want your top number smaller than the bottom number. And I'll do one more example for you with those improper fractions and how to make them into proper fractions. So if we have, let's do 13 over 4. 13 over 4. So I take my 13, it's going to go in the box. That's my dividend. My divisor that's knocking at the door is number 4. And so how many 4's can I get out of 13? We can get 3. That goes on the roof. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. You know what I'm talking about. Sisters subtract, and we end up with 1 rover left over. So instead of making it R1, we take that 1, we put it on top over that 4 that's knocking at the door, and that's where we get our 3 1/4. So 13/4 is the same as 3 1/4. And that's your lesson for today.